So what will come in the box is a reservoir and holding fixture, a pump, a 1 liter bottle, the holding fixtures for the model, the puncture model, septums, power supply, and a paper towel roll. So the first thing you'll do is set up the distal end of the model. The fixtures align, puzzle together and push in. The model fits so that this bushing slides down with the inlet on the bottom, sliding the rest of the model into their spots. Next, you take the pump, slide this in back out, insert the tube fitting into the hole, pump go down into the reservoir, and push the bushing back in. At this point, water could be added, approximately a full liter of water. Pour it in. It will start coming up into this part of the holding fixture. You want it approximately to the top of this reservoir to be able to fill the whole model. So once the pump is turned on, I turn the pump on. To get primed, sometimes you might need to put your part of your hand over the model and give it a little squeeze to let the pump actually start priming. You'll see the water start to flow down into this end of the model. At this point, I would actually suggest pulling this end, the distal end, out and letting the air pockets work their way up proximal. Then putting the model back in. So the model is two halves. The septum comes with a small key on one side. It's only on one side, so you look for that key, and then on this half of the model is a small indent that will allow you to key that into the right spot, making sure it fits in nicely. The SVC would be smooth. So once this septum is in the right location and everything looks aligned, you carefully slide the atrial appendage into its spot to where it looks like it's keyed in the right spot, and then work your way down to where the rest of the model snaps together. And you'll see that this will be a smooth area where it's all nice and fit together. Just to let you know what the tubing is actually for, the water is coming in through the IVC and fills this side. The tube is there to fill the opposite side of the heart along with the aorta. So as you slide it in, just push the tube down a little bit. As you slide it in, you're going to seat the IVC into the tubing, and then you're actually going to try to push it distal a little bit. And you're going to see the model start to fill up. There's all sorts of holes throughout the model to allow for water to drain out without draining too fast. So you'll pressurize. If you want to speed the process up, you put your finger over some of the holes, and you'll see that there's small little holes that allow the air to escape as well out of the top of them. So the one thing to keep an eye out for is as the pressure builds on the inside of the model, you want to make sure that this has a tight seal on it. It will have a tendency sometimes to open up a little bit. If you see that there's air gaps up in the top area of the model, you'll just want to make sure that it has a nice tight seal and it's not opening up down here based on the... Note that the seals are on here for inserting the catheters, but I would highly suggest using a sheath, as because we're running water through the silicone, there will be some binding as the catheter tracks down, and especially in these seals. So I would definitely use an introducer sheath prior to delivering any catheters. So once the septum has been punctured, to remove the model, you just lift up on the SVC, let most of the water drain from the model down into it prior to opening it up. It just makes it less messy. Once it's drained a little bit, you could open it up, drop the septum down into it, and then replace the septum, and do it all over again. You could also leave the pump running the entire time. The water will drain back down into the reservoir. Once the model is out, the water still pours through without leaking anywhere. So when it comes to breakdown of the model, the best way to do it would be to unplug or turn off the pump, lift up the distal end of the model out with the water still in it, and then just pour model back in, or the water back into them. You can either just drain this by pouring it into here, or use a syringe a couple times to make it not spill quite as much. If you're gonna, one thing to note is if you're going to use tap water has a lot of air in it. So I would suggest setting up the model at least 20-30 minutes prior to putting in an ice catheter, as the bubbled water will change the properties of the model based on the air that's actually in the water. So if you're going to use tap water, get it going a little bit early.